Spoilers! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Immortal Cave and sandwichtrust.blogspot.ca. As usual, I'll put a link to my blog in the description. Once again, I am going through another one of the Marvel movies, and this time I'm going after the one that I was not really expecting much out of. I wasn't really expecting anything out of it, which would be Ant-Man, of course. This movie. Okay, this movie was extremely good, but there's one thing that kept bugging me throughout the entire movie. Now, like I said, it's worth the price of admission, even with this problem. This problem even had some good points. And if you've seen the movie, you might already know what I'm talking about, but I'll I'll say that for a second. But it's worth the price of admission. Go watch it. It is a very good movie. It's very enjoyable. It's well acted. Again, it's generally a very good movie. Very good action scenes. Probably the best action scenes I've seen in any of the movies so far. A lot of CG, but at the same time, it was still interesting to watch. So, very, very good movie. Now we're getting into full spoilers. Okay, first of all, nothing really major happens in this in terms of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole. There's no really big thing with it. So there's no major spoilers. Like this isn't like friggin' Age of Ultron where, someone fuck it, the movie's been out for a while now. It's not like Age of Ultron where, a major character dies or where there's all these little things that happen that affect the entire universe. This really doesn't affect anything except for itself, really. The only thing it has outside of itself is one reference to the Avengers, to like them dropping a city, which happened in again Age of Ultron, and one reference to Spider-Man, which was interesting. I didn't see that one coming, but I am very intrigued by it. Uh, it's a good time to kind of just show that we're working on it. We're working on it. Don't worry. Um, okay, Paul Rudd as uh, Scott Lang, amazing, incredibly charismatic, very very well acted. He's kind of like a more played down version of Tony Stark in the sense that he doesn't talk as much. He's not quite as chatty, but he is very charismatic, and he does a very very good job. I really liked him. I put him up there with like top 5 favorite characters in the MCU to give you an idea of how much I like him. Hank Pym was a hard sell for me because I only know Hank Pym for two things: him being a douchebag to Vision in Rage of Ultron, and of course the infamous wife hitting incident. So yeah, Hank Pym was a hard sell for me. Granted, Michael Douglas easily pulls it out of the water, or easily pulls it off and blows it out of the water. You see, I'm very tired. I just walked for an hour straight. My brain's kind of dead right now, so if I say something stupid like that, just let it slide. Anyway, Michael Douglas is very good. He comes off as very almost 12th Doctor-y. He comes off very Peter Capaldi in the sense that he's very grumpy. He's very hostile, but you gotta get the feeling he is a good guy. And for the sheer fact of just making me like a character, a version of Hank Pym, bravo. Michael Douglas, you do very well. I can't think of her name, but the woman who played Hope Van Dyne did fine. Everybody did fine in this movie. There was no real actors that I didn't like, except there's one problem with this movie. Um, actually, well, okay, I'll get to that in a minute. But the one problem I had is Scott Lang, the second Ant-Man, which, by the way, I like the fact that they used the second Ant-Man, not the first. That was actually a really cool idea, and it worked really well for what they did. Um, I really like how they did that, but the problem is Scott Lang is a thief, of course. So of course he has to have like a thief, a group of guys that help him as a thief. This is the problem. Now, as characters, they're fine, but the thing is, when you bring in, when you say, like, I have this gang of thieves that help me out, and one of them's a Mexican, one of them's a black guy, and one of them's a Russian, all stereotypically so, we've got a problem. And I'll even give credit, like, they aren't badly acted. I actually like the Russian guy, but the problem is, like, that's all I know them as. I can't remember their names. Like, I know one of them was a Mexican guy who wouldn't shut the hell up and was kind of annoying. One of them was a Russian guy who was actually kind of funny. And the other guy was a black guy played by T.I. And that's all I know. Like, that's the problem. Is that they're just kind of, putting these three races as thieves? Eek! Like, oops, who did that? Not that I think that they're badly acted, except the Mexican guy who just wouldn't shut up. That just bugged me. But that's my only problem. Again, T.I. was perfectly fine. He acted just fine. He wasn't stereotypically black or anything like that. And to be fair, none of them were really that stereotypical, but their accents were thick as hell and, that type of thing. It wasn't done, like, it wasn't, like, flat out racist, I'll say that. But it was distracting. I will say that. Now, granted, the Mexican guy had a good couple moments. He knocked out a guard, and he made sure to bring him out when this one building blew up. Like, that was a good moment. And I even have to admit they had to get a very good laugh out of me. And this description is going to make it sound even worse, like even more racist than it is, but I swear to God it makes more sense in context. They're driving up to, the three of them are driving up to Scott Lang's house, or his daughter's house, I should say. And number one, the van plays La Cucaracha as its horn. That's not good. But the band pulls up, and because they just basically like committed this like massive like police thing and like getting into Pym Industries and doing all this huge thing, like they're basically like wanted men at this point. And they drive up in the van, which is recognizable, to Scott Lang's house, or his daughter's house, I should say, and there's like about 20 guards. And I have to admit, I did get a very good laugh out of this when they just like start backing up and just they just start going, back up. We're just backing up. We're not doing anything else. We're just backing up. We're just backing up. I have to admit, it did make me laugh. Like, every single one of them really did sell it. Like, it was very well done comedically. Again, does it, do the good things outweigh the bad things with this? They kind of strike a balance, I think. So I'm willing to let it go, but I'm not exactly happy about it. So it's one of those things, It's one of those things that nobody really talks about, like Iron Man 3 as a whole. I'm not going to talk about that either, come to think of it. Though that is a nice segue, because after Avengers 2, like, everything seemed to change a bit. Like, Tony's not a member of the Avengers anymore. Nobody except for really Captain America is. And he brought in, like, Black Widow still is, but, Scarlet Witch and the Falcon and the Vision, like, all of these people are the Avengers now. So it feels like a weird, like, almost a restart, or like everything's established, so here everything goes. I like that Ant-Man almost feels like it's very reminiscent of Iron Man 1 in a lot of ways. The main villain, who, by the way, the fact that they made Yellow Jacket the main villain and just kind of stuck like generic evil guy, again, I'm sure he's part of the comics, but I don't read Ant-Man at the moment. I'm sure he might be part of the comics, this Cross character. Cross is his last name. I can't think of what his first name was. But this Cross character, he's very much Obadiah Stane, Ironmonger from the first Iron Man movie. Like, it's almost identical. The only difference is it feels like there's obviously this older character of Hank Pym who's training Scott Lang as Ant-Man. And, I really do like that. I like the fact that it feels like this is a new beginning for everything. Even though this is the last movie in the second stage, I can't remember what the exact term is, but the second part of the MCU. Now, I like the fact that it feels much more like a reset, and it does depend on certain things from the beginnings. Like, there's a fight scene, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. There's a fight scene about halfway through where Ant-Man, Scott Lang, fights the Falcon. And I wasn't expecting that, but it was really cool. Like, it was really cool seeing him actually test himself against a member of the Avengers. It was really, really cool. And it worked really well because it was like showing stuff from the past, but it was also going forward. Like, it was also like, here's this new character, we're building him up by showing him fight one of a hero that's already established. That was clever. Direct comparison of the old to the new. And I think that works very well. And again, Scott Lang himself, like Hank Pym, fantastic character. Hope Van Dyne, fantastic character. I love them. The stinger at the end was actually alluding to Wasp, to Hope Van Dyne becoming Wasp, which is awesome. Janet Van Dyne dying before the movie even starts was a very interesting twist. But again, it all kind of works. But again, it alludes to Wasp becoming a member later, which I liked. But everything, like all of the characters are really well done. But Scott Lang was kind of the thing that really kind of hit me, was that I love the fact that, he is a thief, but at the same time, he's trying to redeem himself, and he's trying to do all of this. The only reason he's stealing, he's burglaring, is because he's trying to get money for his daughter. He's trying to settle like child support, basically, from his ex-wife. Now, another thing I really liked they did was at the end of the movie, his ex-wife, his daughter, Cassie Lang, and even his wife's new husband were at dinner, and they were all having fun. Like, literally, the new husband actually showed him footage of her like doing a cartwheel, and it was a really, really good moment. Like, I really, really liked the fact that they didn't just kind of evilize the new husband. They did a little bit at first, but at the same time, like, it's in hindsight, it's understandable. And at the end, like, everything just came together so well. There's just so many little moments that I really loved and I enjoyed in this movie, that even at the worst, like even at those weird little fast forward bits with the Mexican guy talking really fast and saying, my buddy did this, and then my buddy was talking to this buddy, and they were just really, really stereotypical crap, and I didn't like it. But not stereotypical Mexican, just stereotypical today, really. Like, my buddy was at this party and he was talking about this, and he was like, it didn't work, I think. But at the same time, it didn't ruin the movie because, again, the action scenes are brilliant. The shrinking and growing thing was really well done, and I think they did something with Ant-Man that I really liked, which was they made him the leader of an army, basically. The ants. They made it so that it felt much more like he's part of a bigger thing, and I think that that's what made it work. Ant-Man's always had a lot of problems in the comics kind of going on solo because shrinking really isn't that big of a deal. Even controlling ants isn't that big of a deal. But they made it work because they made it feel like a bigger thing. And I think that really works, but I love this movie. Would I say it is one of my top 3 favorites? Yes, actually. It's kind of in a tie with Captain America 1 and Guardians of the Galaxy for my favorite. The only thing is, it's the only one that has problems, but the thing is, the fact that I like it as much as I do, even with the problems, says a lot. Like, I think even despite those issues, the fact that I like it as much as I do Guardians or Captain America 1, or even close, says a lot about this movie, and I think that it is an excellent movie because of that. They were saying they don't know whether they're going to make an Ant-Man 2. Make an Ant-Man 2. For the love of God, I would love to see Ant-Man 2. I'd love to see Ant-Man 3. I think this can really work. Now, what are they going to do with the next 2 movies? I don't know. Like, what would they do with a sequel? I'm not sure. But I would still like to really see what they could do. Because, again, I'm assuming Wasp is probably going to be brought in probably in Civil War, I would think. But, anyway, I'm very excited for this. Really good movie. Go watch it, for the love of God. I think next time I'm going to be doing one of these. It's probably going to be Fantastic Four next month. I think it's next month at least. And I'm not really that excited about that, but I wasn't really that excited about Ant-Man, and that turned out amazing, so we'll see how that goes. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I shall see you in a little over a month. Doodles. I can never move the mouse onto the stop. There we go.